What's up?
Hi.
Tyler, Keith, plugged on. We're here with a ranking. We're going to rank every single Marvel Cinematic Universe movie to date.
To date. So, I mean, we can't talk about ones that ain't come out yet.
True. Although Avengers 4 was pretty good, wasn't it?
Iron
Iron Man dies. They all die.
They all die. Everybody dies.
The original guys die. They all swap spots. Mm-hmm. Just letting you all know.
Okay, that's a topic for a completely other video, but...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of these ranking all the Marvel Cinematic Universe out there. We thought...
And this is the right one. And this is the right one.
This is the definitive version of the list.
It is.
So let's get started before this becomes an hour and a half.
It might still, but I'm going to try not to.
Number 20, The Incredible Hulk.
Not a bad movie, just mediocre.
I disagree with you.
Huh?
I fucking hate this movie.
I think it's terrible.
I mean, it's... Yeah. I just think this movie is such an outlier because of who's in it.
Yeah. Also, I think Hulk's a better supporting character than like a... I'm going to be the focus of the entire movie character. Everybody who wants a Hulk movie, I'm like, what are you saying? No, you don't. You're going to hate that one too.
Hulk's presence in another movie, to me, is the perfect way to do him. But yeah, I just found this movie to be extremely boring to watch. And also, I probably watched it, because I watched it recently, before Avengers came out. Avengers Infinity War. And, you know, you're kind of spoiled with all these good Marvel movies.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to go back and watch that one. Number 19, Thor, the first one.
It's a little boring.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fine movie. There's all kinds of cool, like, mythos and whatnot going on in it. It's just that, and then you spend over half the movie in a desert town. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it's kind of weird at times, like, when Thor's trying to get his hammer back and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. It's just a little goofy.
It's like...
It's not awful,
but...
It
has the same kind of campiness that Thor Ragnarok has. It's just that it tries to be serious about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where at least Thor Ragnarok is like, oh yeah, this is stupid, but we're going to do it.
Right. But I did like Loki's story in it.
Loki's story was good.
I
mostly mean with like Thor, where it's like he's supposed to be campy, and it's like it's not a comedy, but you're supposed to laugh at these things. It's like, yeah.
Agreed. Number 18, Thor: The Dark World.
Hey, something happens in this one.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of. I mean, for the most part, I think I like this one better for Loki than the first one, just because, I don't know, you have the Avengers, which really put him on the map, and then, you know, I really like the Thor and Loki relationship. Every time that's explored in movies is all really good. That's like one of the best things about this piece of the universe.
Yeah, and it's certainly the best thing about this movie.
Oh, yeah. If Loki wasn't in this movie, it might even be worse than the first one. It probably would be.
I would say the villains suck in this movie.
Oh yeah,
they're awful.
Like 100%. They're terrible.
They're probably hands down the worst villain in any of the MCU movies to me.
What about what's his face from Guardians 1?
I would still take him over these guys.
Ronan, that's his name. I can't remember his name. Okay, fair enough.
It's not an awful movie, but yeah, Thor didn't start out too well. Number 17, Iron Man 3. Might get a little bit of shit for this one. Iron Man 3, I think, is one of the more polarizing movies in the MCU. You either really like it or you don't.
Because I appreciate what it does. Like, it's trying to say that there's more to that, you know, sort of like the whole thing of, like, Spider-Man is nothing without Peter Parker. Saying Iron Man is nothing without Tony Stark. That it's Tony who's the focus, not this armor suit. And it does that well, but... and I like the whole bait and switch with the Mandarin. I like that. I actually really enjoyed that. I'm like, that's super creative. Yeah. But it's just similar kind of things to what happened with the first Thor. You're in just like a town. Like, you could have Tony not have the suit and have it be compelling to watch. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed the Mandarin stuff. Like, that was it was interesting, and it was actually sort of funny to watch, too. The ending, I really like the ending of this movie.
Also, the ending kind of just doesn't make any sense, especially with the Avengers, Age of Ultron happens, and it's like, so that it doesn't matter.
Yes.
That this movie would have been good if they waited to put Iron Man 3 out until, honestly, after Avengers 4. If it was the last Iron Man appearance, boom, this would be worth it, and I'd be like, you know what, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is super cool, but it's...
Yeah.
It kind of drones itself into irrelevance.
Agreed. Number 16, Avengers Age of Ultron.
The weakest of the Avengers movies.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
There's good parts to this movie. It's just that this movie, even more so than any other one, this movie kind of reminds me a lot of Batman vs. Superman, where they're trying to jumpstart a lot of things. You know, they introduced Vision and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and here's Wakanda, and we're introducing that, and here's all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, why are you trying to cram all this into one movie? I think that's the main problem. I mean, the writing in the one-liners is annoying, but I think it's the fact that there's just honestly too much going on.
Yeah, too much going on, and without the focus that Infinity War had. Because Infinity War has a way larger cast, but way more focus to it. Where this one is just scattered all over the place to me. There were some good things about this movie. I didn't mind Ultron as a villain in a way. I didn't mind, the big Hulk Iron Man thing.
That was awesome.
Was fun to watch. That was really neat. The whole thing with like Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and their family getting killed and all this stuff. I thought that was interesting for what it leads to later. There's some interesting things to this movie, but to me, it's just it's stretched too thin, and the character dynamics just drive me up the fucking wall in this movie. Like, it was on TNT the other day, and I just turned it on because I'm like, I haven't watched this in a while, and like, I can't.
It's also when you think about it that they're not like there's things that they introduce in the movie that go nowhere.
Yes.
Like, again, which is a minor thing, but the whole Black Widow and Hulk thing.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we're not doing anything like that in the movies, the Russo brothers. I'm like, okay, that just seems pointless then.
Yeah.
Like, all right, fine.
Agreed. Captain America, the First Avenger, is number 15. This movie does some really fun stuff, and I just love any movie, or any of the movies, the relationship between Captain America and Bucky.
Yeah,
I really like that. I like it in this movie. The whole thing with the train and stuff, and they're having to save him and stuff like that was really intense, fun to watch. There's some good stuff about this one. To me, the thing that I don't really dig too much is the ending. Ending's just, I don't know. A lot of it doesn't make sense to me.
The ending is very anticlimactic.
Yes.
Which, I mean, it's basically there to set up everything else.
Yes.
Like, they don't use Hugo Weaving enough as Red Skull.
Yes, Red Skull's awesome.
He's awesome. He's like
really
he's one of the biggest villains in the comics.
Yes.
But they just don't use him enough.
Yes.
And then granted, it was kind of cool, spoilers, for him to come back in Infinity War, even though it's what's his face from The Walking Dead, which is still weird to me. That's who it is. But like, yeah, he disappears and then Steve just gets frozen and then wakes up in the 20th century, and it's like, or in the 21st century, and it's like, it's really anticlimactic. Like that it doesn't do this movie well, but it does good for setting up other movies.
Yeah,
this movie was kind of had to end this way, so it kind of had to lessen. But I don't know. I like World War II movies, so that aspect of this was pretty fun.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Red Skull is just. Yeah, I wish they used him way more. I wish they used him way more as just an overall villain to the MCU, and not just in this movie, because he's just fascinating. And to me, out of the first phase of Marvel movies, minus probably Iron Man 1, this is probably one of the better ones. I think. Like, it's still fun to go back and watch.
Yeah,
I felt. Number 14, Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I like Iron Man 2. I know a lot of people don't, but I like Mickey Rourke, his villainous character. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I like I don't know, I just like the dynamics between like Pepper and Tony and Rhodey in there, and there's just a lot of weird nods. I surprisingly enough, it's not Armie Hammer. That's what I mean. But the dude, the villain dude.
Yeah.
It's not I know his last name's Hammer. I know his last name's Hammer. But Hammer.
Army Hammer.
That's an actor who's not even anywhere close to. But that's what I think every time I see him. But
That's
like
funny.
I liked him.
Yeah.
I think he's probably the best Iron Man villain.
Yes.
I mean he has Jeff Bridges and whoever Killian or whatever the dude's name was from Iron Man 3. Like
Killian.
Yeah, I think something like that. So like, that's and I just thought, this is just a fun movie for the most part.
I like Pepper in Tony Rogers. Tony Stark. Just talk about Captain America, but I like their relationship a lot in this. I love the whole racetrack thing.
Yeah. When
he's bringing out the whip and fucking shit up. That was fun. There's good moments about this one. For sure.
Also, definite retconning it, but the little kid that Tony saves towards the end of the movie during the thing, that's Peter Parker.
Yeah.
They retcon that in. I'm like, that's awesome. I mean, granted, I'm like, yeah, why not? And I'm like, wow, he's tiny. How many years take place over the MCU? Great.
That is true.
The timeline for these movies, I don't get. I just assume they happen in the order and at the time frame of which the movies come out, but I don't know. But then Ant-Man and the Wasp kind of throws that under the bus.
Yeah.
A little bit. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. But it is a fun movie to watch. Speaking of which, number 13, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Most recent one.
Yes.
This was fun. It's just a fun movie.
It's fun to watch, but its story is so paper thin that it kind of is like, but I liked coming back to these characters because I like that.
I mean, the story was kind of what it had to be from where they left off the first one. It's just that, no offense to, which I wish they could do more because Paul Rudd is, he's phenomenal on everything. But Ant-Man really only works as like a heist movie. Like that's what made the first one really good, was that it was a heist movie, which made it or like a bank robbery or whatever movie. So I'm like, yeah, it was awesome. And this one I like Evangeline Lilly and like their dynamic is really awesome, and kind of still tying things back to Civil War, which is pretty cool and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's movies more about Civil War than it is Avengers: Infinity War. But that post credit
scene just
hits you right here. I liked going more into the quantum realm because I think that's just a visually stunning thing where Marvel can get very creative with it, and it's just interesting to watch. And then I think the villain in this movie is better than most. I didn't enjoy it as much, but I liked the motive behind it. I thought that was probably what does make it stand up, because if you take the motive out, or the motive's just slightly different, it's just kind of...
Yeah, like it's, you feel sympathy for the villain. And I'm like, all right, this is cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
But there's, it has those creative Ant-Man moments that are just really fun, because now you play with the real world, you play with the small world, and you play with the real big world now, which is fun. It's a fun movie to watch. Number 12, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I feel like we're a little bit more down on this movie than most. I just think compared to the first movie, this movie is just nowhere.
It just doesn't, because like the first movie, like, it was the first movie, so of course it's fresh and new. Whereas not too much terribly new is done with the dynamics in this movie. It's weird that more stuff happens for the characters between this movie and Infinity War than changes happen in this movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was fun. The opening sequence is awesome, which was with Groot dancing, baby Groot dancing around. That was pretty cool.
It's probably one of the best sequences in any Marvel movie.
Yeah, and then I just you kind of lost it there at the end, just a little bit. The stuff with Yondu was cool, but the fight and whatnot at the end, I'm like, all right, you lost me a little bit.
It's a planet and stuff. I'm like, okay.
Ego, the living planet.
Yeah.
I get it, because that's what it is in the comics, but it's like,
I liked getting more Peter Quill's backstory, too. I thought that was good.
But I like how that's probably never going to come up again in any movie ever. That he's half planet.
Yeah. Exactly. Which is just really dumb to think about. It's really, really dumb. Also, you know, I feel like they had something good there in the first movie, but they realized that let's just make Dave Bautista's character even more stupid because it just goes, it works a lot better.
Because it's great. and then they took it a step further later on. But yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun movie though. Number 11, the one that started it all, Iron Man.
I know a lot of people might not like that we don't have this movie higher, but I think it's great because this movie started it all, and it is a great movie to see how Tony goes from being, you know, an asshole to becoming Iron Man. I mean, he's still an asshole as Iron Man, but like, you know, an even bigger asshole is cool. But I just think a lot of the movies that have come after it, especially some of the more recent ones, are just like, poof.
Yeah. I mean, this one did action really well, and I liked how Tony just had to be creative with the situation he was later put in, and I think it just did a really good job of kind of setting some things up. Like, of course, you know, everybody kind of points to the ending, I am Iron Man sort of thing, and then the post-credits scene with Nick Fury kind of really setting up the Avengers. You know, those are probably the things that I think I remember Iron Man for the most, rather than the movie itself. But it is good. I mean, it is fun to watch, even if you go back and watch it today. I just don't like you said, like, there's just so much better out there for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to me. I know this is the one that started it all. I know people really like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and he is Iron Man, honestly, and he's great in this movie. But to me, it's just so much better. That's my thoughts. Number 10, Doctor Strange.
Probably rivaling Ant-Man. The first one is the most visually stunning movie, especially when you get into all the world-bending effects, and it's just like, whoa. The movie's a trip to watch.
Yeah.
Like, it's visually, it might even be the most stunning MCU movie.
Yeah. We went back and forth on switching this with Iron Man, but I think we kind of landed on this above Iron Man and putting it number 10 because of how different it is for an MCU movie. Just because it's like this weird Inception-like trippy thing. The villain's interesting. You know, I love Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I think that's like the perfect person they could have got to play him, and he's great. I love, you know, everything about Doctor Strange is just very fascinating. His world is fascinating, and I just found this whole movie to just be incredibly entertaining to watch. Not even if you tone down some of the visuals, I'm still really digging this because I just like Doctor Strange so much as a character, and I like, you know, a lot of his buddies too. I like the big Asian guy. He's in Infinity War.
Yeah,
I'm forgetting his name, but he's a really fun character to watch, and yeah, it's good.
A lot of good shit.
Yeah. Number 9, Ant-Man.
Yeah, the first one. I mean, I know a lot of people make the argument that anytime like both Ant-Man and Spider-Man are basically just Iron Man again. It kind of is, but at the same time, like, again, as we said, the visual stuff and the creativity with the action sequences, I think, are what kind of set this movie apart, in the sense that, like, the final fight takes place on like a Child's Train set, and that's just awesome. Like, that's just and it's just Thomas the tank engine. Like, that's funny. It's great. It's probably the first genuinely up there. Well, I know Guardians came out first, but, you know, one of the first genuinely, like, funny MCU movies.
Yeah.
Outside of, like, you know, especially when you look at Age of Ultron, it came out months before, and that tried to be a funny movie, and it wasn't. So, I think the characters are great. I think, why am I forgetting his name? Hank Pym, actor. Oh, I'm gonna have to look this up, because he's, why am I not remembering his name? But all those characters are great.
Yeah.
In that movie.
It's
gonna bug me. Ha.
I don't know. Ha, yeah. But Yellow Jacket I like, too, as the villain. And the final fight is just, it's awesome. To me, this is like...
Michael Douglas. That's who
Michael
it is.
Douglas,
Yeah.
How did we forget that? Looking at this list, maybe This is well, never mind. This is one of the most fun MCU movies.
Oh yeah,
and it's probably a top 3 in terms of just sheer fun to watch. And I also feel that just about anybody could watch this movie, even if you're not really into superhero movies, because it's just a fun kind of comedy, very small sort of thing. And I like the relationship with his daughter too. I think that was well done. And overall, the whole thing is just, because you go into it and you're like, yeah, man, who cares? And then you walk out and you're like, Ant-Man.
All right.
Like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they did a good job of changing your perception of that character. Right? Thor Ragnarok.
The best of the Thor movies, as you can tell, by a large margin. Going from the second and third worst movies to number 8.
Yeah.
In a couple years. Like 4 years between those movies. I mean, that's just because they just embraced the fact... Because also, like... I don't know if maybe people weren't too aware of this, because I know it was the case in Ghostbusters, but Chris Hemsworth is really funny. He is he's just really good, because he can just play dead serious and give just deadpan a bunch of jokes, which is great. Like the one part where he like throws the ball and he knocks himself out for a second at the window or whatever. I'm like,
yep.
It's just, I think it's just good. And then it's sort of like, this movie's sort of like Iron Man 3, except done better in some ways. When you look at Iron Man 3, it's about Tony without the suit, but then in the end, Tony ends up needing the suit. Whereas in this one, it's like he doesn't need the hammer. Now, granted, they go back on this in Infinity War, but it's like, Thor realizing who he is and, stuff like that is cool.
Yeah. There's so many incredible moments in this movie. One of my favorites is in the very beginning when he finally gets his hammer, and then he just starts beating the shit out of everybody in that room. And then the way that happens, and the Led Zeppelin playing, it's like, yes, this is very good. Once again, Loki's relationship with Thor, awesome in this movie. Jeff Goldblum, honestly, is pretty damn good in this movie.
Apparently he improv'd most of what he said. And I'm like,
which
that's
is
great.
Incredible.
Which is also, that's why it's a very Jeff Goldblum performance.
And they found, like, the perfect role for Jeff Goldblum. And it really fit. And in that planet that they're on is so, like, kind of gross to look at and not very exciting. But it's, it's an interesting place.
Interesting idea.
Yeah. And then, to me, this is how you do Hulk. Instead of a solo movie of just Hulk, like, have him be a side character, but have a bigger impact on the story, a bigger role. I really love how they did Hulk in this one. And also the fight between Hulk and Thor was awesome. The final fight on the bridge with the Zeppelin coming back and Thor gets the lightning. It's fantastic. The main villain is maybe not the greatest of this one. It's just more of a typical...
Thor's never really had good... Well, I mean, okay, no, he had Loki. Fine, he had Loki. I can't forget that he had Loki.
Take out Loki, though.
You take out Loki, not that great.
Agreed. But, yeah, it's an incredible movie. It's how you do Thor. Like, they found the way to do Thor, for sure. It almost makes you want to go... wish they would go back and do the other two differently.
Yeah.
Honestly. Number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, this was the first, like, MCU movie where you realized, oh, Marvel kind of knows what they're doing. Because, like, with all the other characters, it's kind of like, these are good characters. How can you mess this up? How do you mess up Captain America? I mean, granted, if you look back at the movies in, like, the 70s and the 80s, that's how you mess these characters up. But, it's like, they had a fairly good track record with these fairly popular movies. And then they're like, here's Guardians of the Galaxy. Some kind of, like, not even B-list comic. Like a C or a D-list comic. And they pull it out, and it's like, became, like, still one of the most popular MCU movies ever. It was genuinely funny, with a really good cast of, like, in some ways, honestly, a hodgepodge of actors. I mean, Chris Pratt was known for, Parks and Rec at this point. Dave Bautista was known for being a wrestler at this point. Bradley Cooper is not even in the movie. He's, just voicing. And Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
He's Groot. I'm like, what the hell is this? But it's great. And then they have Karen Gilligan is Nebula, and she's awesome in everything she does. So
yeah, it's because I remember when this movie came out, it was like, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, whatever. I don't need to watch this one, but then everybody was talking about it, and then we went to see it at our kind of secondhand movie theater, and was like, wow, did we fuck this up not watching this?
yeah. So now it's like, all right, no matter what the idea is, it's like, all right, fine, I'll watch it.
Yeah, and it's crazy how they just did this so well to take Guardians of the Galaxy from, like you said, being not a big deal to being one of the biggest Marvel properties they have.
Well, like they have a major role in the third Avengers movie.
Yes.
Like they could have just been like a side thing, kind of like a lot of the other characters. Captain America played a second fiddle to the Guardians of the Galaxy characters.
Yeah.
Think about that. If I told you that 5 years ago, you'd look at me fucking weird.
Yeah, agreed. And you know, I also think at the time this movie was just very fresh for the MCU. Obviously, fresh characters, but just a fresh style, more, you know, a little bit more comedy. Obviously, very visually different. You know, I think all those things kind of work towards it. The villain is a little bit whatever.
Ronan, yeah, Ronan's kind of bad, but everything else saves it. I mean, it's also got Dr. Steve Brule, which immediately gives it a thumbs up in my book.
Exactly. Number 6, The Avengers.
For a long time, this was my favorite movie.
Uh-huh.
Like, I mean, if you're gonna do a team up movie, you know, Justice League, look this way. This is how you do it. You build it up, you know, and then it's not one character's show. Like, in some ways, what happened with Age of Ultron was kind of like Iron Man's show, and then everybody else was just kind of along for the ride. Whereas, you know, this one, it's like, you know, you have Loki, but then there's a Tesseract from Captain America, and then, you know, Tony's, you know, the kind of the original Avengers guy, and then you have, you know, all these pieces coming together, but they all kind of make sense. And I still maintain that the actions, the New York scene, the big New York fight scene, is probably, in terms of the really big battle scenes, probably one of the best, if not the best, that the MCU has ever done. Specifically, the one part of it where it's one continuous shot where you're trailing through everybody, and I'm like, this is amazing. The whole movie's great.
It is. It's very slow in the beginning to me, but then once they all come together, what a great thing. The whole fight between Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America, fucking awesome. That's when the movie clicked with me of like, wow, this is actually really good. And you know, from taking superhero movies that are just very singular, focused on one character, to turning it into something where you could have 4 or 5 or 6.
Yeah,
they did a fantastic job with it, and obviously it set up a lot of other things to come for the MCU too. And also Loki is Loki, and he's great.
He's great. I hope he's not dead. There's a lot of fan theories out there.
Hey man, spoilers, we're not there yet. Shh. Number 5, Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I really like this one. It's probably the second best Spider-Man movie they've ever made. And it's nice because you don't have to tread over the thing of the origin story. And they did that. And they managed to, you know, make a good movie without doing that. But then I think it comes down to, in some ways, Tom Holland is the best Peter Parker. Like,
yes.
He has that awkwardness that sort of Tobey Maguire had, but he had also kind of like just that almost youthfulness that Andrew Garfield had when he did the role in some ways. So, and it's nice that like it kind of only vaguely ties in. Like, you know, Iron Man only shows up a few times in the movie, and a couple other people show up. But I'm like, it's nice. And the Vulture, they did a really good job with Michael Keaton as the Vulture. They have probably one of the best singular hero-villain interactions when they're in the car. They're going to, was it Homecoming? I'm like, this is awesome.
Yes.
And so it's just a fun movie.
Yeah, it is good, and Michael Keaton is, to me, he's the kind of thing that sets it apart. I mean, I really like. God, I literally just blanked on his name. Spider-Man.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland.
Come on.
Like, I was literally about to. It's one of those things where you're literally about to say it, and then it just leaves your mind. Whatever. Tom Holland. He's my favorite Spider-Man without a doubt, because like you said, like, he's great as Peter Parker and he's great as Spider-Man, and both of them just work so fucking well with one another. You know, when he just can go back and forth with them, and it's great. And I just like a lot of the situations that he's put in, especially the one where the building starts to collapse on him. Like, there's genuinely really great acting from Tom Holland there.
Yeah.
That I fucking loved. And I love how this movie kind of sets up some other things to come for Spider-Man in the MCU. And last thing I'll say is the whole thing with the boats. That was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Too. That was really good. It's a fantastic movie. It's... Yeah.
So you can do a superhero movie without a giant skybeam.
Yeah.
Or a CG army to fight.
I know they're, we know they're doing one more standalone Spider-Man movie, but it makes me fucking sad that
They gotta do a third one.
either that or that Sony's still gonna have Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Damn it. I mean, I don't mind the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but this blows both of them out of the water.
I hope that Venom does well, but under projection, so that Sony's like, yeah, all this, it's a part of the MCU. And then Marvel's like, sure, you can make movies so that we don't have to make movies that are a part of our universe.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows. Number 4, Black Panther.
I mean, this movie... I think that this movie is genuinely good because it genuinely has probably, next to Loki, the best villain that the MCU has, in the sense that, I mean, he's not wrong. He changes. He actually goes out and accomplishes his goal. He changes the hero's mentality on things, on the whole Wakanda's isolationism and whatnot. And I think this, and even though, like I said, this movie is really good, I think the cultural impact is the most important part of it. The fact that this movie is all but 2 actors, prevalent actors in this movie are black, is great, and the fact that it's basically a celebration of both African American and African culture, that's great. The third act kind of falls apart a little bit. I mean, it does your typical thing. Once the rhinos show up, I'm like, all right, this is getting a little much. and the CG when they're falling through the fucking cavern, I'm like, come on, you didn't have to. It kind of ruins it for me, but it's fun. Again, Michael B. Jordan is great. I mean, you look past Fan Four Stick, and he's great in just about everything he does.
Yeah, definitely. To me, he's my favorite villain in the MCU, and he's kind of the main. He's the thing that I'm always going to remember about this movie. Of like, wow, what a performance Michael B. Jordan had, and just because of his motives, the fact that he really does outright win, and he wins in the way that,
ideologically,
the king of Wakanda wins the throne, if you want to call it that, which I really liked, and it made you think about a lot of things, and there's just some very slick stuff in this movie because of what Wakanda is technologically and all this stuff. Once again, it's taking another character of like Black Panther, who really cares, taking him to a whole nother level to where, who would have thought that Black Panther would be a well over $1 billion movie and have
of the second best Marvel movie opening weekend? I think Infinity War
second best, yes, overall, and I think it's some like 5th or 6th in terms of like the best opening weekend of all time.
Yeah.
Crazy. So crazy. I mean, a lot of that, I think, came down to, like you said, culture impact, and then the time when it came out.
Yeah.
I mean, it came out in February, but...
my mom saw this movie. My mom has never seen any of the MCU movies.
Yeah.
They went and saw this movie.
It's just, honestly, a very, very fantastic movie to watch. Number 3, Captain America Civil War.
Avengers 2.5.
Yes.
Movies, this is like, again, they managed to balance it both being a movie about Captain America, but then also giving all the characters plenty of screen time. And I think even though the ending kind of, I don't think came as a surprise, the whole build up to the fight at the end between Cap, Bucky, and Iron Man is awesome, and it has such a tension to it that like just about every other fight in the MCU doesn't have.
Yeah, and it's genuinely one of my favorite moments in the MCU. It is that, and then the whole thing between, just trying to remember, right, between Captain America and Iron Man when he's about to literally kill him, you know, with the shield and everything.
You know, I have to do it. He's my friend. So was I. And then the callback to the first Captain America, where he's like, "Come on, I could do this all day." I'm like, "Oh."
You know, you watch the movie and it is good. The whole airport scene, don't get me wrong, is awesome. But to me, Captain America: Civil War is defined by those final moments right there. Because of how well done they are and how much that kind of means for the MCU. Just because you had them all together and it was all kind of building up, and you know, oh, they're a team. They do all this stuff, and now they're really truly falling apart.
Yeah,
because of just
bureaucracy and
philosophical differences.
Yeah,
you know, it's fascinating.
I mean, it all works perfectly. Like, I was kind of curious when this movie came out what they were going to do, but they turned it because, like, using Tony Stark's, you know, fears from Age of Ultron and making it work for this. I'm like, this is great. Yeah,
it's an awesome movie. Number 2, Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Cap and Bucky. I mean, that's what this comes down to. I think the fight sequences in this movie are probably the best in like any movie. Specifically, like the one in the street between Cap and Bucky is really good. And this was kind of the movie that started the whole thing where like every Marvel movie is different. Like this one was a spy thriller.
Yeah,
you know, Ant-Man's a heist movie. Thor Ragnarok is like a buddy road trip cop movie or whatever you want to call it. Like, you know, every movie's a bit different. And this was the movie where Captain America, you know, really came to, where all the weird choices that they made in the first Avenger kind of come through. Like, you know, with the fact that, you know, Peggy's old, she's, you know, doesn't really remember him as much, and just like, oh, it hurts so bad.
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. To me, the thing I always think about it is that final fight between Captain America and Bucky. Just how intense and kind of emotional that was to watch. How kind of visually impressive it was with the ships crashing into all this stuff. And yeah, it's... I don't disagree with anything you're saying, honestly. It's... I like how this movie is a spy movie, because it was kind of, like you said, it's the first time that they really truly just kind of gave an identity to each.
Instead of just being a superhero movie, it's like, well, let's do something a little different.
Yeah, and also, you know, Captain America's always been popular, but to me, I just feel like this solidified Captain America as the not being a corny character. Yeah. You know, the first movie was cool, but he's still kind of Captain America. He's still sort of corny, and now he's like, wow, you know, he's Captain America. I never would have thought, if you just take each set of movies from all of these characters, I never would have thought Captain America would have the overall best run of movies.
It's also like the most character development. He goes from being like, you know, patriot guy to being the super cynical, like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Number 1, kind of a surprise. I feel most people have it as number 1, but Avengers: Infinity War.
It's kind of not fair. I mean, this has 19 movies worth of build-up. Maybe not all of them directly related, but like probably at least 10, at least half of the movies directly lead up to this one. And so, like I said, it's just kind of not fair. No. But they do it so well. Like we said earlier, whereas Age of Ultron, the previous Avengers movie, kind of things are bouncing back and forth, but it's like, did we really need to see this? Why does Thor have to go off on his own? And all kinds of other problems. And then it's like, everything made sense. And it's like, and they condensed it. It's like, we're just going to bring everybody together so that there's maybe 2 or 3 things happening at the same time.
Yes.
That's it. And that's all you have to worry about.
They spent the perfect amount of time with each character, each set of characters every time. And the characters they kind of threw together was really fascinating. A lot of the storylines was really fascinating, because they never truly all came together at all.
No.
But, which I think kind of worked for it. You know, you had like Thor off doing his own things, but he's also with Guardians of the Galaxy. And then they're off doing their own thing, and Iron Man ends up with Guardians of the Galaxy in Spider-Man.
Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Thor, cool. Rocket Raccoon is like happening, and it was the thing that you didn't know you wanted, but it's the best thing.
Yeah.
Like the best thing in the whole movie.
And this movie balanced comedy and serious shit in the most perfect way that they have ever done in an MCU movie. You know,
Yeah.
like there's this very real, serious threat out there, and there is a very serious, dark tone to this movie. But the comedy just is so smart and injected so well that it doesn't feel overbearing like Age of Ultron did.
Yeah.
You know, and it's smart to me that, you know, they set everything up with the perfect amount of time. Like, who gives a fuck that it's like, what, 45 minutes to an hour maybe before you actually see Captain America?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long time.
It's like a good bit of the movie.
Yeah.
And
it's
even
like,
then,
who cares?
he doesn't say all that much. Again, like I said earlier, it's like the Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Guardians of the Galaxy show.
Yeah.
And I guess Thor. And Thor.
Yeah. And honestly, this is one of the very few movies I've ever watched that made me feel extremely weird when it was over.
Oh, yeah. With
Just
that
because
ending.
of how it ends. Like, they lost. That's weird. That
Like,
never happens.
Like if there was... Because most movies, you would be only 2/3 of the way done when this movie was done.
Yeah.
Like, cause then you know, like, oh, there's still another hour left. They'll bounce back.
Yeah.
They'll get him, and you know, and then you can go home happy. But this one, it's like,
yeah.
I
Once
have
the
to wait a
credit-
year.
Yeah, once the credits start rolling, you're like, wow. And you just sit there and you almost don't know what to say.
and there wasn't like an end credit scene,
Mm.
which is also weird. I'm just like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess there
it's-
was
and
an
then,
end credit scene.
yeah,
but-
and then Josh Brolin as Thanos, just awesome. I feel like they gave him the perfect amount of time on screen too, and you know, bringing Red Skull back in a way, awesome. The relationship between him and Gamora, fantastic. I mean, overall, it's a very, very well done movie. It really is. It's riveting. Like, I remember when we first watched it, like, you're sitting there and you're about an hour in and you're like, wow, I actually kind of can't believe how good this movie is so
Yeah.
far. And it just keeps going and you're like, I don't want this to stop.
It's the first time that I went into a trailer and like you watch the trailer and I'm like, that trailer's really good.
Mm.
But you know, and then I'm like, that trailer did not do this justice.
No.
Like at all. I'm like, oh.
No, I just find it awesome that Avengers Infinity War, to me, into a lot of, there is people out there that don't think it's the best, which is fine. But I just feel it needed to be the best Marvel movie because of how much they were building up to this, and it really truly delivered.
And it lived up to the hype. Like that's no easy task to have that amount of hype. It's not, you know.
Agreed.
How many times do we talk all the time? Is that there's just so much hype built up, and it's just
Yeah.
like, whatever. You know, whether it's Jurassic World or
Yeah,
whatever.
There's
game.
just very few things out there, just entertainment properties, period, that have so much hype behind them, and it's just so awesome when they actually deliver.
Yeah.
You know, like, The Force Awakens is one that I point to. Like, that's the most hype I've ever seen for anything, period. And that really delivered. You know? It's awesome. So, yeah, that's our ranking of all 20 MCU movies. Who knows where Captain Marvel and Avengers 4 will land? Who knows
Who
where the
knows?
rest will be after that?
Because there's like apparently another 20. Which,
They haven't
you know
planned
what?
until 2025.
You
so
know what?
Sure.
Go for it. I don't care.
Hey man,
I'm all
if they
for it.
keep delivering quality movies,
Why
especially
stop?
as they have the past 2 years,
The last 2 or 3 years. I mean,
bring
I think,
it on,
yeah,
dude.
basically ever since.
Civil War.
I would
That's
even
the one
say
that-
I would say Ant-Man. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, to an extent Ant-Man, but I mean, they definitely Civil War.
I mean, I like Ant-Man a lot, but Civil War was just really good, and then literally just about everything since that's been good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Let us know your list.